use the. Thank you. Yes.
Speaker, on the order paper, we have provision for questions for oral answer, and there's just one question. The procedural issue I'm raising is that according to our rules of procedure, the questions for oral answers should be responded to within 2 weeks. More than 2 months ago, I raised the question for oral answer to the Ministry of Public Service in regard to the delayed implementation of the structure for Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation, and also their non-payment of salaries for now coming to 7 months. This matter has not been responded to, and it's not only me affected. I've been to the clerk's office, and there are several questions for oral answers that have not been responded to. So will it be procedurally right to only have one question for oral answer when there are so many that have already elapsed the timelines for them to be considered? Thank you.
For now, speak about yourself, about your question. You don't speak for the rest, but your issue on science, innovation, and technology is being handled in the committee, ad hoc committee. It's one of the terms of reference in the ad hoc committee. So you will have a response, a comprehensive response to that effect. Yes, next item.
Item number 3.
But also ministers who are asked the questions should be responsible enough to respond to the questions that the members are raising. We need these responses. By the time a member comes up and says, I have this question, you should be able to respond to the question. Not members, I mean, they're raising questions for and on behalf of the people of Uganda. So you should be responsible enough to answer them. Yes, next item.
Item number 3, statement by Minister on the occasion of commemorating the 16 days of Activism campaign against gender-based violence.
Members, allow me vary the order paper bit. Can we have a statement from Dr. Chen first? Then you will come next.
Statement by Minister on the status of Uganda's preparedness to combat the threats of the new COVID-19 variant, Omicron.
Yes, Dr. Ruth.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, the statement was submitted and I hope it was uploaded. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, I received the directive today to update this August House on the status of Uganda's preparedness to combat the threat of the new COVID-19 variant Omicron, and permit me to present the report now. In addition, I will give a status update on the pandemic and the vaccination status to date. As an overview, Right Honorable Speaker, to date we have registered 127,485 confirmed cases of COVID-19 and 3,252 deaths. Furthermore, the current admissions stand at 115 in both public and private facilities. The country has sustained low transmission of COVID-19 with a positivity rate of less than 5% since September 2021. Actually, currently our only hotspot is Obongi that has an attack rate of more than 10 per 100 cases. In regards to the Omicron variant, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the B.1.1529 variant of the SARS-CoV-2, also known as Omicron, was first identified by scientists in South Africa in a specimen that was collected on the 9th of November 2021 and later from specimens collected between the 12th to the 20th of November 2021 from Gauteng, South Africa, Botswana, Hong Kong, and subsequently reported to the World Health Organization on the 24th of November 2021. The meeting of the World Health Organization Technical Advisory Group on Variant Evolution held on the 26th November named it the Omicron variant and designated it a variant of concern. Since its initial identification, the variant has spread significantly to reach all provinces of South Africa. It has also been identified in countries neighboring South Africa, namely Lesotho, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, Zimbabwe, Angola, and Zambia, as well as among travelers to distant countries, including Netherlands, Thailand, Israel, United Kingdom, the Czech Republic, Italy, Belgium, and Germany, and the list of countries continually growing. As I came in here, the countries had reached 23. Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, not much is known about this variant since it is new. But this variant is reported to have 32 mutations. Those are genetic changes in the spike protein gene. And to explain the gene, that is the code of the variant, like the code of Honorable Bahati here, but is not a variant. More than those that have been identified in several other variants of concern, including the Delta and the Alpha variants. These changes, it's feared, could potentially render the virus more infectious, more transmissible, and harder to detect using available laboratory tests, and may cause more severe disease. However, all these are still under research and are yet to be well documented. Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, while the Omicron variant has been reported in several countries across the world, it is important to note that this variant has not been detected as yet in Uganda. Right, Honorable Speaker, the World Health Organization is coordinating with a large number of researchers across the world to better understand the Omicron. Studies currently underway include assessment of transmissibility, severity of infection, performance of current available vaccines, performance of the available COVID-19 diagnostic tests, and effectiveness of treatments. More information will be available in the coming weeks, and this will be shared widely. In the meantime, the Ministry of Health continues to closely monitor the evolution of the spread of the Omicron variant globally, and a number of measures have been instituted to prevent the importation of the variant into the country. I'll now talk about government interventions to curb the importation of the Omicron variant. Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, regarding management of travelers in and out of the country, we have intensified surveillance at points of entry.
There's a procedure matter.
Thank you for the opportunity, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, the statement being made by the Minister, we can't access it on our iPad, it's not here. Thank you.
The statement was actually given to the clerk, and I don't know why they've not uploaded it. Of course, the responsibility of the minister stops at giving the statement. But this is a very important document that we need to get. Just take note of what the minister is saying as they upload it. Mr. Kema, can you upload it? The minister can continue the uploading it.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I was on the measures that government is undertaking, and I was at the point of intensified surveillance at points of entry, with particular emphasis at the high volume entry points, notably Entebbe International Airport, and high volume land border points like Malaba, Busia, Mutukula, Elego, Mpondwe, and Katuna. This does not mean we shall neglect the other border points of entry. The following is being done based on a scientific approach and after a careful analysis of the risks. One, the government of Uganda instituted mandatory testing of all incoming travelers upon arrival on 28 October 2021. To date, 48,259 samples have been tested, with 228 positive cases recorded. On average, 6 positive cases are recorded daily. Testing of all incoming passengers at Entebbe International Airport will continue. However, passengers will be allowed to proceed to their destination once their sample has been removed. We believe that the daily average of 6 cases is still a manageable number that our surveillance teams can easily track up and follow. 2, testing of incoming travelers at other land points of entry will be conducted by the private laboratories at government set rates as Ministry of Health continues to build capacity for testing as directed by Cabinet. 3, persons who test positive shall be tracked and put under home-based care or health facility-based isolation depending on the severity of disease. Asymptomatic cases will be placed under home-based care and followed up by the Ministry of Health using our toll-free lines daily. The positive cases will be subjected to a repeat PCR test on the 7th day. 4, symptomatic cases requiring admission shall be managed at designated COVID-19 treatment units. 5, all positive samples from travelers shall undergo genomic sequencing to enable detection of the Omicron and other variants. 6, all travelers are requested to be honest and sincere when sharing details of their addresses and contacts. This is to enable prompt follow-up to prevent the spread of the virus. Giving false addresses puts the entire country at danger. And we are relying on the public and all of us so that we avoid holding travelers at the airport, but at the same time take precautions to avoid spread of infection. Right Honorable Speaker, generally on this average of 6 cases, sometimes 1 or 2 give wrong addresses, but we have been tracking them down because we get numbers of their identity cards and passports as well. Additional measures that we are undertaking: 1, we are taking samples from alerts or people who develop COVID-19-like symptoms from among the communities in the country. Samples from these individuals that test positive are subjected to genomic sequencing. We believe that this will enable us to search for the presence of the Omicron variant in the country or any other new variant that may develop within the country. 2 is increasing the uptake of COVID-19 vaccination, and we are accelerating the campaign. You're all aware that we have opened up to all eligible people 18 years and above. And 3 is adherence to COVID-19 standard operating procedures. This is a must, including mandatory use of face masks while in public, maintaining good hand hygiene at all times, avoiding crowds, and keeping a distance of at least 2 meters. These are cheap preventive measures that help us to stop the spread of the virus. Right, Honorable Speaker, I want members to note that the more COVID-19 circulates among the communities, the more opportunities the virus has to change or to mutate. It is therefore extremely important that we all work to reduce circulation of COVID-19 variants to interrupt mutations. Now, to give an update on COVID-19 vaccination, Right, Honorable Speaker and honorable members, government continues to prioritize COVID-19 vaccination as a strategic intervention to control the pandemic, including the effects posed by the new variants. So far, 6.9 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines have been administered to the population. Of these, 5.8 million, that is 25% of the 22 million eligible persons have received the first dose of the COVID-19 vaccines, while about 1.2 million, that is 5%, have received the second dose. To date, government has received a total of over 17 million doses through donations and direct procurement by government of Uganda, of which over 10 million doses have been distributed countrywide. And we continue with distribution of the 6.6 million doses in the country. We are expecting an additional 15.5 million doses by the end of this month, December 2021. That will give us a total of over 32 million doses. Right, Honorable Speaker and honorable members, in order to increase uptake, my ministry expanded the vaccination activity from only static sites to include outreaches in the communities, including villages, places of worship, taxi parks, markets, etc. And this is intended to take the vaccines closer to the communities. And it is against this background that we commenced accelerated COVID-19 mass vaccination, starting with regions of high infection rates. We have so far covered 4 regions of Teso, Lango, Chigezi, and Acholi, with different rates of performance. Right, Honorable Speaker, I also thought it important that I talk about weekly markets, because there are weekly markets in various districts that have remained closed. During his address to the nation on the 22nd of September, 2021, His Excellency the President directed that weekly markets in hotspot districts of Soroti, Kampala, Kalungu, Kabale, Kumi, Tororo, Gulu, Nuoya, and Yumbe remain closed. Directed that I follow up and review their situation for safe reopening. Since that time, we have been carrying out intense surveillance, management of cases, and vaccination against COVID-19. Currently, they are no longer hotspots, and therefore these weekly markets can now open, and we have informed the districts that they can open accordingly, but adhere to standard operating procedures and the curfew hours. As I conclude, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I want to again appeal that you support the Ministry of Health in the vaccination campaign, and also support us where possible in curbing the importation of the COVID-19 new variant. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister of Health, for the comprehensive report. I'll open it to debate. But before we open this to a debate, Honorable Minister, on Tuesday, there was an issue that was raised by the chairman of Acholi Parliamentary Group, that much as you're doing a mass vaccination in a highly infected areas like Acholi, the lady who has come up and is decampaigning the vaccination, and he's saying that vaccination is meant to kill the Acholi people. So we, as a house, we agreed you go and do a mass intervention on that. You go on radio in actually with the actual parliamentary group and make sure that information is put aside, because it seems the locals believe in what the lady is saying. And it is out of that most people have rejected going for vaccination. So you may need to take note of that and get in touch with the chairman of actually parliamentary group. Yes, Solomon, Dr. Singoma.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the Minister for the brief but informative statement that she has presented this afternoon to Parliament. However, I have a few questions, and one of the questions is, Honorable Minister, how effective are the vaccines that Ugandans have been receiving, and to what percentage are we safe with the emergence of the new variant? Because there is a lot of speculation that with the new variant, even if you were vaccinated, you have 0% of immunity. I want you to clarify on that. And then 2, given the fact that we are going to open schools on 10th of January, as government has communicated, is this emergence of the new variant going to affect the going back of children to school? Because most of us are parents, our children have been home for over 2 years. I want you to respond to those 2 questions, right, Honorable Minister? And then I'll have other.
Thank you, Solomon. Dr. Singoma.
Okay. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. For the record, Dr. Isingoma Mwesigo from East Division. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for the statement. The question I want to ask the Minister is whether there are plans for us as a country regarding the harmonization of our mitigation efforts with the countries within the region, especially the East African community setup. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I must take my happiness to the Minister that I am happy that you have given a report here in the House that the markets in Teso, Soroti, Kumi, they open. That is very good, because the people of Teso were asking when will it be open, because they wanted also to look for school fees. There was nowhere to take their animals for sale. The other thing I want to ask is the issue of masks. Although it is open, but people are reluctant. I don't know what the ministry will do in order to encourage people to put on masks. Every corner you go, you find people are removing their masks. I don't know what government will do. On the other side, I am happy in Teso, we were able to mobilize people to go for vaccine. And we are continuing mobilizing them to go to for vaccine. Even in the village where they are drinking from, we go there, we ask them to have the vaccine, and they are positively responding to it. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and also Honorable Minister, on the statement. In your statement, you indicated that on average, you're getting 6 positive cases coming in through Entebbe International Airport. I would like to know what about the other ports of entry, because I've not seen that captured in the report, and it becomes a major concern because we need to also know how many positive cases are coming in through the other ports of entry, the Busia-Malaba border. Thank you.
Semujo.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to thank the Health Minister for this statement.
The issues that I want to seek for your clarification. The first, the measures that you outline here sound like they are the existing measures. I am not hearing, because in other countries, what they have done, travel restrictions from countries that have announced have this new variant. I want to hear the new measures, not the old ones, because the old ones were before this problem. The second point, maybe you will help us understand. If the whole of Acholi, one lady can mobilize people against the vaccine and she succeeds, you government, have people lost faith that the whole of government from president to ministers, one woman can wake up and begin mobilizing and succeeds, and all of you cannot succeed? Because look, you have said you have 17 million doses in the country, but you have only administered 6. And you are not reporting about expiry. So we need to understand whether we relieve you of this duty and get maybe a woman like that one to be the one to mobilize the country to go for vaccine. I am asking questions.
You get a clarification.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable Semuju, for giving way. The clarification I am seeking from Honorable Semuju is whether him as a member of parliament, he doesn't think it is important for him also to mobilize Ugandans to come for vaccination, because you are saying as if it's only the government that should mobilize, but him as a member of parliament has no duty to mobilize. Could you clarify whether you have a duty to mobilize also?
Honorable Minister, there was an issue in the House on Tuesday where there was an alarm that one woman who has gone viral, she recorded a voice and she claimed to have worked in State House. And she also knows how State House wants to finish their cholis. How the drug, the vaccine that is being given out to Acholis is being infected before it is taken to Acholi. So what Honorable Semuju is saying, how can that one woman manage to demobilize the whole sub-region? So as government, we should be able to come out. What is requesting that as government, we should be able to overpower what the lady is saying. And in the sitting, we even agreed that the lady should be arrested. We should look for that lady and have that lady arrested because she's disorganizing the whole sub-region and actually disorganizing government. Now I was giving you a clarification because both of you maybe you're not in the House. So I was giving you a clarification of what happened.
And I want to thank
actually,
you.
it was laid on table, the recording of that lady. Honorable Anya also made a submission on the same lady.
I want to thank you, Madam Speaker. I think the Minister has got the clarification.
You need a clarification?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. What the lady is doing is actually criminal because she's inciting the public against a government program. She can be arrested and be charged. So I believe the authorities can take it up from there.
Yeah, that's that. We made a ruling to that effect. We must have this lady arrested. Whatever she's doing is criminal. I mean, disorganizing government programs. Yes.
I want to thank you, Madam Speaker. I think the Minister is clarified. I was only asking a question for which I am also seeking for an answer. But how can the whole institution of the state be overpowered by an anonymous person? Isn't it an issue of faith? Finally, Madam Speaker, and I sympathize with the Honorable Jane Ruth Acheng. And by the way, I appreciate the work that you do. We now have our soldiers going into Congo. Last time they returned, I was a young boy working for a newspaper. They returned with women. And Congo has had problems of one problem to another. I want to hear from you. If there are measures that will curtail our soldiers who have crossed now into Congo, the way they crossed, many of us didn't know, either take themselves taking COVID to Congo or returning with COVID and other problems. Because taking to Congo, we will sympathize with the Congolese, but there is an authority there. But are there measures? Because you see, they will be moving in and out. Are there measures at the border to curtail the importation of a variant like this one or any other variant from Congo? Because last time they imported many things, gold, women, but I am more interested in health issues, for which now I want to seek for assurance that there are measures there. Information, Madam Speaker, if you allow.
Thank you. The information, right, Honorable Speaker, I want to give my colleague. I represent a constituency which borders Congo. And due to the war now going on between the UPDF and the ADF, people are just crossing from Congo. And the minister has not mentioned any area where government has put emphasis on controlling, at least vaccinating or testing people who are crossing from Congo. That's the information I want to give my colleague.
Members, that is a question that was asked by one of, I think, Dr. Singomo somebody, that what about these other areas outside Entebbe? How many people do we register?
So I want to thank you and my colleague for the information. It's a serious matter because you may not only have this new variant imported by our own forces, but also people are running away from. So I want to hear about the presence of the ministry in those areas. Madam Speaker, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Okay, let him finish.
For record purposes, Mayanja Allen from Nakaseke Central. Honorable Minister, thank you for the statement. And we leaders who have done our part to mobilize our electorates to go for vaccination. Let me take this opportunity to inform you, Honorable Minister, in Nakaseke, the vaccines are not available. Like Chikamo Center 3, Putalang Center 3, people go there, they line up, in the evening, they are told that the vaccines are not available. I'm getting a lot of phone calls, and we don't know what is really happened to Nakaseke. It's ever neglected. Remember, this district was affected by
Actually neglected even by their own MP. Because for you, you're just getting the hearsay. Have you been there to verify whether the vaccines are?
the vaccines are not available, they are not provided by the ministry.
You see, I want you to go there, verify whether they are vaccines or not, and then give a report to Dr. Cheng, and an action is taken. Okay?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, we appreciate the work you do. We really want to find out, why are you not taking action at continental, regional level? And why has it taken too long? When it comes to mobilizing COVIDX and funding, partly you do it at AU level. But when Africa is being isolated, no action, we are not hearing the heads of state and your actions. For example, Madam Speaker, tourists are missing flights. Even some citizens of Uganda who travel because of business. Because why do you have the guideline for testing to be 72 hours and you cannot coordinate and ensure that the test, which is done in South Africa and the passenger stops in Ethiopia, can be legally accepted here? I have seen a travel, let me conclude and then, I have seen a travel guideline by the United Arab Emirates government that provided you have a test with a Q code that can be linked to the source, you don't need to conduct another test. Why don't we have at the African level, East African level, having our staff based in Nairobi, the one of Nairobi based in our testing center here, and centralize the testing Q code with our staffs in all these places, the way Uganda Revenue Authority staff sits in Mombasa, Kenya Revenue Authority staff sits in Malaba, Uganda, to avoid tourists missing time, to enable business move, and also to avoid several testing, which is so costly. So, with the permission of Madam Speaker.
Thank you. There's information.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable colleague, for giving way. The information I want to give, Right Honorable Speaker, I returned from Glasgow just 2 days ago. And I led the delegation, Ugandan delegation. We went with a lot of, many people, and colleagues here also went. We went through the testing process, Right Honorable Speaker. My colleague is raising concern, but the big picture is that if you compare with Uganda, and I must be on record that we should thank the government and our minister for doing the best to have even the testing simplified, the cost even lower. And before even we could reach home, with the result was already posted on our phones. Contrary to what happens elsewhere, it is very costly. In the UK, we had even the cost was $128 pounds compared to our $30, which is Ugandan here. We were even supposed to go to specific area to test, and that is what they honor. So my brother and the colleagues, maybe this is still a bigger picture. We appreciate the concern, but let's also appreciate that Uganda has even gone an extra mile to do the best.
Thank you. Maybe we need to give credit where it is due.
Yeah.
As of now, we are better than the test and fly.
Yeah.
Joel?
Madam Speaker, yes. I was concluding. Madam Speaker, schools will be opened in January. Some of us who are associated with the schools have requested government to use our schools as a testing and mobilization centers, so that when schools open in January, we do not have a problem with the parents coming and these parents, either their kids or the parents have not been tested. If you use or vaccinated, if you use private sector, we can just announce, say, for your kid to be admitted, the parents and the children who qualify must come for vaccination, or you will have no space in the school. And you will find that within a short period of time, we shall have this matter, so that when schools open in January.
We can't give such conditions, really. There is a right to education. I mean, we should go out as leaders just to mobilize people to come for vaccination. Voluntarily, it's Joel.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to appreciate the Minister for her statement. I, however, wanted to hear a little more about our readiness in as far as the health structure is concerned. Madam Speaker, the Minister, like myself, is a great believer in God. And so we believe that God will protect us from another hit. But while we trust God, we also lock our doors. We were hit initially, and then there was a scamper. Hospital beds, ventilators, and so on. We didn't seem ready in that regard. So I wanted to hear from the Minister, how ready are we in case we get another hit? It's good that vaccination is happening, but again, we are told that even when you're vaccinated, you can still carry, you can still get infected. And that's why even after we are vaccinated, we still wear masks. So the vaccination is good, but how ready are we in case we get another hit? I think that's important. Finally, Madam Speaker, on Tuesday, I was raising something, and Madam Speaker, you said I should raise it on Thursday when the minister is here. There is an ongoing strike by medical workers. We hear there have been some meetings happening and so on, but I thought it would be important, Madam Speaker, for Parliament to get an update. What exactly is happening? People call us as their representatives. They go to hospitals. There are no medical workers to attend to them. I was speaking to some of the leadership of the Medical Association yesterday, and they told me that some of their members are contemplating taking it a notch higher by withdrawing emergency services, because currently emergency services operate. Now, once that happens, it puts the nation in a precarious state. So they have issues, they have raised promises that have been made and fulfilled, et cetera, et cetera. So I thought it would be good that the minister gives an update to the country through Parliament. What's going on around there? Some kind of reassurance is important. Thank you.
Were you talking to them as Chair Kosase or
as a member of Parliament of this country?
Person of NOP.
As a member of Parliament of this country, Madam Speaker.
Okay, thank you. Let's start from behind.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I would also like to thank the Minister of Health for the statement. However, I would like to know, I've been hearing about these booster doses. After when you get the 2 vaccinations, as a nation, I was seeing like Rwanda, they have started giving booster doses. I don't know whether when you get booster doses, if you not get this Omicron variant. I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. My name is Engineer Rukchovenesco, MP for Ruka North. One of the things I would like to raise to Honorable Minister, during the peak of COVID last time, the private hospitals raised the bills so high, up to the extent that some dead bodies were held up for the relatives to pay. How is government planning to have centers in case COVID comes back again in such a high magnitude to avoid such instances happening again? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I'm called Adrico Jovan, Member of Parliament for a constituents, Arua District. So I want to thank my minister for giving us a very good report about the COVID. Madam Speaker, I want to know from my minister, in Arua District, still some health workers are still dodging the vaccination. I want to know, up now, are we sure? Are we safe? Because they'll be the first people to be vaccinated, and yet they're still dodging the vaccination. So I want to know from her, what measures are we going to take here to control this situation? Thank you.
Start from up, Robert, then you come down.
Thank you very much, Lord Honorable Speaker. Lord Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the Minister for the submission. Right Honorable Minister, during the first phase, we did raise a number of issues here, and we thought putting them into place would actually be preparation for the second phase in case it arose. Personally, what I want to know from the minister, one of the preparations for the first phase was provision of ambulance system and so on. And the islands we are considered, and Madam Speaker, you did actually send a team here, Committee on Health, to see whether the both ambulances were available. And indeed, we found out they are available in the country, but since they were procured, they have never reached the destinations. We don't have them in the islands. So can I ask the minister, in preparation for the second phase, which we are praying that it doesn't, can we have those ambulances in our areas? Because that is the reason why they were procured. I know the minister will say security issues, but those ones were handled. We have interacted a number of times. We want to see them there.
Yes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. My name is Afidra Ronald, Member of Parliament for Lower Madi. I want to thank the Honorable Minister of Health and for giving this status update. But besides that, I want to inform the House that in my district, I do receive regular update on any delivery of the vaccines in my district. That gives me an oversight of how best my district is benefiting from the vaccination program. And I want to thank Ministry for that process. If all the MPs can receive the notification from National Medical Stores as the delivery happens, then we can make a follow-up. Second, Right Honorable Speaker raised the stigmatization of vaccination among health workers happening. As my colleague from Vura indicated rightly, at the forefront are the health workers. And if we do hear that they are not vaccinated fully, and we tend to get right information from them, and then the subsequent uptake by other community members becomes a challenge. So I want to inquire through you, Madam Speaker, to the Honorable Minister, is what is the statistics of the health workers so far in this country that are fully vaccinated because they're in the forefront, and we receive this from them. The last inquiry is, we know Omicron is a new variant, and we're happy that as a country, we have not yet got an indication of this variant in the country. But we are again told that this was found in South Africa in a laboratory there doing research. How prepared are our laboratories to detect this new virus? To the extent that the minister can say that we have not got this new variant. Maybe to some extent, it's already entering into the country and we are not prepared, or our laboratories cannot detect it. It's a technical thing, I am not. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Afidra. By the way, I also get notification.
Okay, thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. I would like to commend the Minister of Health for the tremendous efforts he's putting in place to secure this country. However, I have only one concern, which is affecting our sub-region. That is misinformation being given out to the general public. We are aware that in the villages, majority of people are not learned. Therefore, whoever gives information to them, they take it awesomely. So the challenge that we have at the ministry is with the PROs. Whenever this information goes to the community, we don't get contrary information from the public relation officers in the Ministry of Health to counter those misinformations. Madam, we know you're working tirelessly, but you alone, you can't be everywhere. So we really want to call upon those PROs in your office, in your docket, in your ministry, to also come up and help us to clarify on such misinformations that are moving around. Then lastly, in some other districts, we don't have health center for, we don't have...
If I could ask what kind of misinformation has been given so that we get to know.
Like the case in Chole sub-region where a woman recorded the voice and it is being circulated. Actually, for the last 2 days, I have become the PRO of Ministry of Health. My voters, they called me.
No, you're not a PRO, you are a member of parliament, a leader.
I am saying almost.
A leader of those people.
Yeah, so they gather themselves in groups. They want to know if the woman recorded that this medicine is bad, they want to finish them. What is our take on that? Then how comes that the ministry is quiet? They're not telling them any information. It is us trying to tell them that the information given is wrong. So to me, I was thinking, there must be a system in place whereby if we get such informations immediately, without taking long, another contrary information should be given by the ministry. Because now this one has taken about 1 to 2 weeks. We begin to respond later when these communities that have already taken the information all suddenly becomes so difficult to dispute it in their minds. So for me, I was thinking that if the ministry could have faster response to those misinformations would really help guide our community. That's what I was trying to bring forward. Then also, lastly, I would like to request our ministry. There are some other districts whereby we don't have health center too. We don't have a district hospital, but we have PNFP. And if you're considering like the way you are distributing the gas cylinder to the health centers, health center 4 and other districts, why don't you consider such facilities so that they also benefit, because they're doing a lot of work for our people. Like in Agago, we don't have health center 4, we don't have district hospital, but we have PNFP in Kalongo, whereby it is a treatment center for the district, but they have not been receiving such facilities. Thank you.
Honorable members of parliament, I don't think we need to wait for PROs to speak for us. We are the voice of the voiceless. It is us who are educated who should go to those uneducated people and give them information on what is happening. If you're going to wait for a PRO from Minister of Health to start telling people, no, it is not correct, go and get treatment, then you are at loss. Let's speak for our people, let's speak for our country. It is about the health of our people in this country. Kate?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Minister of Health, for the update. Just 3 issues I would like to seek clarification. The first one, Honorable Minister, some time back, the ministry had a challenge of vaccines getting expired and not utilized in time or near expiry. Your statement is silent on it. I would like to know whether that problem still exists, and if it is there, what actions government has taken to make sure that you do not have vaccines expiring when they are actually needed somewhere else. The second issue is about the vaccination. Madam Speaker, we have been mobilizing our people. In my constituency, together with my colleagues, we have been reaching out to radios and even organizing, working with the medical teams to make sure that we do mass. The issue of outreaches, Honorable Minister, I think is still curtailed by a shortage of medical officers to administer those vaccines when you have a lot of numbers, but also the issue of allowances. It is coming up, the nurses, and therefore would like to seek clarity whether as you got more vaccine doses, whether you have actually proportionately increased on the manpower available to administer those vaccines, but also the allowances. Finally, Madam Speaker, the Honorable Minister mentioned that the new variant, the source was South Africa. We have read, okay, I couldn't, maybe I picked it different, but what we have heard is that this thing started from many countries in Europe, but as soon as the South Africans announced, we have had this reaction. And some of it is being looked at as an isolationist approach against Africa. We would like to know whether at a continental level, there is African CDC, whether as ministers of health, you have taken any steps to talk about this, because what we are seeing, the reaction is unprecedented. It means that the moment an announcement is made, even in a country like here, one case, we are likely to see, that kind of reaction. So as Africans, we should be concerned and would like to see a statement come out from the ministers of health at the continental level to talk about this so that you give confidence to the countries that we are not going to be isolated. Madam Speaker, finally, there is an issue. We are going into Christmas. We are going to have a lot of gatherings. We would like to know whether there is going to be intensified, sensitization. I know we have the Minister of ICT here. What strategy do we have? Because people are going to gather and we are going to see a lot of crowds than we have been used to. So whether there is a strategy to make sure that there is, intensified sensitization for our people. Thank you very much.
Thank you. John Faith, then you, then Isaac, then Queen Dancer.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to take this opportunity to thank the Minister of Health for the statement on COVID-19 and the update to the nation and this August House. Also, to look at the events, especially that came from the report, that there are 17 million vaccines and 6 have been vaccinated. And yet the opening of the economy fully is conditioned by the vaccination. And I am just offering a suggestion in this, that when Emyoga became a very important issue, this House went on recess and it was on record the entire country that members of parliament have gone to the communities and they are following up this. And I believe it produced results. Why can't this House make a pronouncement, even if it's 1 week, members of parliament go back there and talk about this thing so that it shows the importance that it has in the community, so that we are able to raise up and this economy is opened up. I beg to submit, Right Honorable Speaker.
I can see the minister clapping as if she has all the vaccines to vaccinate everybody. By the way, we don't have any problem sending members to go and mobilize their people to be vaccinated. We really don't have that problem. But we need an assurance from the minister that the vaccine is there, such that by the time we send these members, everybody will be vaccinated. Because it's a serious time. I mean, things are not as usual.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. My name is Zama Siraj Brahan, Member of Parliament for Renga County. Yumbe hosts the largest number of refugees. Because of the incidents that we are seeing that there is a new variant of COVID, the borders that are neighboring South Sudan are very porous. These refugees continue to move from South Sudan to Uganda, to the areas where they have been hosted. I'm now trying to see that because of their free movement, there is easy conducting the new variants in our country. I now wanted to know from the minister, what precautions are put in place in order to see that all the refugees are immunized? Because others are also decampaigning the immunization process. Whenever they are supposed to be vaccinated, they go to South Sudan. And they normally come when they are coming to pick their rations because of the porous borders. Secondly, Yumbe Hospital has been elevated to a regional referral hospital since last year. Up to date, this hospital operates on the budget of district referral hospital. A lot of facilities like oxygen production plant is not there. And in case of now the variants engulfing us, and the facilities are not enough in the hospital, what are we going to do in order to curb such a situation? Because the regional hospital is supposed to host 5 districts in West Nile. This of Jumani, Obongi, Koboko, Maracha, and Ayumbe. Now that the hospital has not been facilitated to the fullest, what are we going to do in case of such emergencies? Thank you very much. I beg from me.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to appreciate the Minister of Health for the statement. Madam Speaker, when we started the vaccination, it started with the elderly, those above the age of 50. Eventually, when we received enough vaccines, all the adults got the opportunity to be vaccinated. Madam Speaker, now, many head teachers are encouraging even those under 18 to be vaccinated ahead of the opening of schools. We have head teachers who are telling the children who are at least above the age of 12 to be vaccinated. I don't know if it is safe for such children to be vaccinated because it is widely spread, and I think we need assurance on that as parents so that we give the right direction to our children. Second, Madam Speaker, I want to thank the Ministry of Health for the support, particularly to the task force at various levels, the district, the sub-county, for mobilization against COVID and the vaccination. But Madam Speaker, this parliament appropriated funds for the task force, and these funds were dispersed by the ministry to the various districts. In some districts, including my district of Madiopolo, the funds meant for VHTs and other lower local governments meant for the mobilization for the task force was abused. And this has demoralized some health members, some task force team members. I don't know what the ministry is going to do to ensure that such people are brought to book, because it is one thing which, Madam Speaker, has affected the mobilization against COVID-19. Madam Speaker, we have so many districts where the health units are grossly understaffed, to the extent some districts even operate at a staffing level of 29%. And this affects the vaccination process. Some of these districts have been submitting requests for the wage bill, but then they have not been accorded that, and it has affected recruitment of the critical staff.
Lawrence.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Sorry. Thanks so much, Ruth, for that comprehensive report. I always enjoy reading your reports, and thank you for the good work you are doing. You have told us that 5.8 million people, Ugandans, out of the 22 have been vaccinated first dose. 1.2 have received 2 doses. Can we comfortably say that we are okay? What is the problem? We have 17 million doses, and so far it is only 7 million Ugandans vaccinated, half and the other one full. Can you tell us that we are okay, and then we can actually relax? 2, the new variant we are hearing about is the current vaccination that we've got. Are we protected? Or we are going to go to another circus of a new vaccine? Since I'm a member of the COVID task force, I'm so worried again. Thirdly, data of availability of vaccines per district. Can we know so that we continue mobilizing? We really want to know what is available in our districts and how many vaccines are, the types that are there, and those are so that we can mobilize the people to go for vaccination? And lastly, are the COVID task forces in the district still operational or they were time bound? Thanks so much, Madam Speaker.
Sarah, Shadow Minister of Health.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I appreciate the Minister for her report. However, Right Honorable Speaker, I want to know from the Minister whether the vaccination of children 12 years and above has been cleared by WHO. I'm saying this because the last time when I talked about testing using the RDTs, because this is what other countries are doing, because it takes a shorter time, less than 5 minutes, you have your results. She said there was no clearance from WHO. And immediately after that, I saw a circular from the Ministry of Health to all district health officers, directing them that they can go ahead and vaccinate children below 18 years for as long as they were above 12 years and with comorbidities. Has the WHO given that clearance? Secondly, Right Honorable Speaker, yesterday I received a call from my RDC. We have been mobilizing the populations. However, we have a challenge of vaccines, lack of vaccines in Tororo. People go in big numbers to the different vaccination centers and there are no vaccines. So I want to request the Honorable Minister, as you ask us to mobilize, where are these vaccines? Because all that is happening is that they simply pick from other districts and bring a few. But where are these vaccines that you have been reporting that we have 17 million, only 7 have been sent? So where is that other difference? That's what I want to know. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Minister, I need assurance on 2 things. One, on the availability of vaccines. I had a voice from somewhere saying that we should be able to go and help and mobilize for people to be vaccinated. 2, what law do we have in place on mandatory vaccination? Do we have a law in place? And if we don't have, what is our plan? What is your plan as government on that? And 3, somebody talked about people put on masks as in when they wish to. What is our position on putting on the masks? Shadow?
Yeah, thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise as the Shadow Minister of Health to give my response to the statement from the Minister. Honorable members, the statement from the Minister, the way it is word by word, is exactly the same the way it was when a variant called Delta that was announced from India got into Uganda. So if we take it up the way it is without any modification, we shall very much be in position to have Omicron getting into our country. I invite your attention to some of the measures that are to be taken by the ministry. You know, the first one was mandatory testing. But let's remember that at the beginning of COVID, we had mandatory testing and mandatory quarantine. At the time of Delta, we only had mandatory testing. This time around, from the statement of the minister, we have mandatory testing, but passengers are allowed to proceed to their destination once samples are withdrawn. That is exactly what the minister said. When we were here on Wednesday as the Shadow Minister of Health, presenting to you our alternative statement, after realizing that time is passing without the country coming up with a responsive plan to the danger of Omicron, we suggested that we should develop a red list because we know the countries where this variant is. It will not be unique to us. Some countries have done it, including our colonial masters, the UK, they've done it. So we can as well do that. We can do it for even a very short time. But the thing is, it will help us study and prepare for the fears the minister stated in her speech. In her speech, she was able to point out that as of now, we do not know the transmissibility of this variant. We need to assess it. We need studies that will assess it and inform our decision. We need to be informed on the severity of the infection, the performance of the current vaccines, the performance of the available COVID-19 diagnostic kits. As of now, we do not know whether they'll be able to detect that variant. We do not know whether our treatments will be effective or not. So these are what she has stated in her statement. And if we can take drastic measures at the point of entry, the worst being, or the most lenient being, that whoever gets into Uganda doesn't exit the airport unless a negative test is presented. And to this, we justified and made it real by asking us to scale up the testing capability. We asked for an increase in the gene expert machines. The statement the minister made previously was that Entebbe International Airport has only 2 gene expert machines. Honorable members, this testing capacity is small. I say it is small because when we were in Bududa Health Center District Hospital, we found that that facility also has 2 gene expert machines. Tororo District Hospital has the same capacity. So we can't replicate a similar capacity to Entebbe International Airport. When we strain the testing capability, then passengers can look for plan B. That's when you have instances of a passenger releasing money or any incitement such that is let into the population. Right, Honorable
But at
Speaker,
the same time, Shadow, let's not contradict ourselves. We are the same people here who made a lot of noise why passengers kept at Entebbe when when the results are not yet out. And we gave orders in this house that let the people go to their homes, the results will get them there. Now, again, we are saying otherwise. So which is which?
Yeah, right, Honorable Speaker, in the face of a new COVID variant, the Omicron, and aware that the country was put under lockdown for 42 days, we lost over 3 trillion shillings in tax revenue. We were stressed. Schools up to now are still closed. We should not sincerely keep loopholes in our system. We have very many challenges. Our SOPs are challenged. You know, the minister is talking of enforcing SOPs. But look at the doctors' strike. It explains the gaps and challenges. Doctors are striking for, among many reasons, that they do not have PPEs. So we can't let ourselves lose. If there is anything that gives us an opportunity to fight against Omicron, it will be at the Entebbe International Airport. If we let it lose at that point, right, Honorable Speaker, the Ministry of Health will come here with a COVID response plan of almost 2 trillion shillings to buy oxygen, to buy beds, and to buy other things. So now that the economy is fragile, we have an opportunity, a very good one. Let's develop a red list. Let us accelerate the vaccination process. I want to applaud and commend the minister for the effort she has done in vaccination at churches and other places. However, before our eyes, we see that all that effort is only in the urban places. We are worried for the rural places, and it's for that reason. Yeah.
You're saying the vaccination is only in urban places?
The accelerated vaccination effort, where they are putting vaccinating clinics at churches, vaccinating clinics at high volume places, they are in Kampala and some urban places. We want the same replicated up country. A district like Tororo, I would give various examples. Allow me put Tororo in perspective. Tororo is one of the big districts. It has over 40 sub-counties. Vaccination is taking place in designated healthy facilities. In totality, there are 14. It's not practical. You can clearly see that about 3 sub-counties crowd around one vaccinating area. What this speaks to is the distance one has to move to get vaccinated.
Can you summarize?
Therefore, It therefore prompts us to interrogate whether one will easily get vaccinated or will have to move out of his convenience to get vaccinated. Right Honorable Speaker, in summary, the opposition has alternatives to the approach on the Omicron. I do request that the minister allows us to present our alternative to her, such that she looks at it and where possible, picks out what she can consider. Information granted.
Thank you. Right, Honorable Speaker, the information I want to give the
You
Honorable
sit when they are
Member
giving you
and the House.
information.
Those who remember going to the expo in Dubai, they would collect your sample. By the time you get to the immigration desk, the results are already transmitted. There is no rocket science in this. One, that you have to crowd the airport. Two, that you can take the risk of sending people to their respective homes, some of which you may not trace, others may even give you a wrong address. We simply need to perfect our game such that by the time somebody gets to the immigration desk, the results are out.
Minister thank you.
Health.
Finally, Right
Minister
Honorable
of
Speaker,
Health.
so on the common approach to management of COVID Omicron variant by East African countries, that we appeal to the ministry that COVID does not need a passport to cross from one country to another. Let not be in a situation where each country does its own things. Can we have a common approach, especially with this Omicron, in the fight against Omicron getting into our region? As of now, we have no information that it has made entrance in our region. We believe we are all free of it. So let's have a common approach. Thank you very much. I beg to submit.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. But I can still give a disclaimer. In my district, a very good number has been vaccinated, and I must thank the minister for that. Procedure on I hope it is on the same.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I rise on a point of procedure because it has come to my notice that this House is fully constituted. We have the Right Honorable Prime Minister and Head of Government Business. Close to her is the Minister of Security, Honorable Jim Muhwezi, and Cabinet members. And Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, as you are aware, we are in a state of war. We have sent our brothers, our sons and daughters across to Congo. And Right Honorable Speaker, this matter is so critical in that in my hands and before me, I have the Constitution, I have the UPDF Act, and I have the rules of procedure that put it to bear to this House to ensure that we defend and protect the constitutional provisions of this country. And right now, Right Honorable Speaker and members,
Order, Mr. Speaker.
it has become
Madam
apparent
Speaker,
that as
order.
Parliament,
Yes, Katesh. He's on procedure. He's on procedure.
Honorable Katesh Shumbwa, just some patience, please. Right Honorable Speaker and members, the procedure I'm raising, are we procedure right to sit here and deliberate? Of course, I'm hearing the Minister of Information trying to echo my position, but I'm rising on a constitutional matter which precedes all other matters. Now that the House is fully constituted, can we really be informed as a country? Can government seek the mandate of this honorable House? This is the only parliament that we have in this country. And the continued disregard of the constitutional order, Madam Speaker, is putting me at odds, and I hope the parliament as well. How do we proceed without this matter being presented here now that we have the Head of Government Business, the Right Honorable Prime Minister and the Minister for Security? Can we have a motion before this House
bearing in mind that our counterparts in Congo were briefed and Parliament sat and this matter was discussed, save for Uganda. And it is our sons, our boys who are down there doing the fighting, and life along the fighting is being expended. And I'm telling you, we may do deliberations in this house, but that engagement, that expedition is going to cost the budget of this country. And for all we are deliberating upon, we may never realize it with that ongoing conflict. So, Right Honorable Speaker and members, can the Right Honorable Speaker, can the Right Honorable Prime Minister, well known as Majegere in some other circles, be able to stand up and inform this country? We can't continue in darkness. When you are seated here, your government, is it a vote of no confidence in government, or you are putting a vote of no confidence in Parliament? Right Honorable Speaker, my prayer and the procedure, are we procedural right to proceed as if there is no government in this country, to proceed as if Parliament is being disregarded in this manner, to proceed in a very unconstitutional manner of doing business in this country?
Honorable Sechkubo, that is actually a benefit of coming in late. I come as a presiding officer, I come to this house at 2. I have one very, very good person who raises procedural matters. A procedural matter was raised on that issue, and I made a ruling to that effect. Now for you, because you came at 4, so for you, you're raising the same issue. There is a ruling to that effect. And I want to tell you, my ruling is final. It is not for the lead of government business. The ruling I give is final. So because you've seen the lead of government business coming in, so you want to raise those issues. It was already ruled upon. Next item. Can I have the minister?
Most obliged, Right Honorable Speaker.
So you'll be here on Tuesday, you'll get the statement.
But the continued time, Right Honorable Speaker, is not allowed.
You'll be here.
Order.
The continued violation of the Constitution is persisting.
Honorable Sechi, can you sit?
Yes, Right Honorable Speaker. I don't intend to go against your statements.
Can you sit?
But I want on the continued. Due to rule on the continued violation of the Constitution. Your order is fine, I understand and I appreciate.
Order.
But that shouldn't superintend over the constitutional order.
Honorable Sechkubo, I have made a ruling to the effect. And I don't want to be pushed to the corner. Dr. Cheng?
Right Honorable Speaker, allow me to appreciate the honorable members for the issues that they have raised in relation to the new variant, but also other existing issues. Right Honorable Speaker, in my statement, I clearly indicated that not much is known about the Omicron variant.
Procedure.
And that.
Madam Speaker, the Minister for Health is using a microphone that many other people have used. She did not spray it the way she has sprayed, and even spraying air after the Honorable Sechkubo. This is a serious matter. If the Honorable Sechkubo is contagious, we need to know from the minister responsible for health.
Dr. Chris, can you spray there and the Honorable Minister? Since you're also a doctor. Yes. Let Dr. Chris do it.
There is suspicion, Madam Speaker, that Honorable Sechkubo has political Omicron.
Okay. Dr. Cheng, Doctor. Members, we have not even moved one item. And we are here on order. Doctor, can you summarize your response?
Yes, Right Honorable Speaker, and I'll be very quick. As I was saying, Omicron is a new variant and not much is known about it. And I clearly listed the areas of research that the World Health Organization and many scientists are undertaking with a commitment to give more information in the coming 2 weeks. Nonetheless, Right Honorable Speaker, I also clearly indicated that it is very important for us to continue vaccinating because we don't know whether the new variant responds to our vaccines or not, but information coming in from South Africa is that of the 990 cases they have, the majority are unvaccinated. So that gives you information that vaccines are good. Right Honorable Speaker, we are all looking forward to the opening of our schools, and we all must work towards the opening of schools. And therefore, we must concentrate on getting the population vaccinated and support the Ministry of Education to ensure the schools are open. Since the first wave, we have worked on harmonization of our response as East African countries. And one of the countries that has made the greatest efforts in this harmonization is Uganda. And we are still using the interventions that we set in place, using what we call the RECT system to enable trade and travel to take place at our border points of entry. I did make a presentation in this parliament on that issue, as well as the fact that we are looking at a common East African pass and a common East African vaccination card. All these are ongoing. However, there are countries that respond slowly, and so the efforts don't move at the same pace. Right Honorable Speaker, the issue of masks, vaccinations, washing hands, and so on, we as leaders have to take it up. It is not only a government effort. While COVID-19 affected countries, it affected individuals. And it is our responsibility as individuals to see that these things are adhered to without having to wait for government. We, the leaders, should actually reach out to the people who believe in us so that this can happen. Regarding positive cases coming in through the land border points of entry, Right Honorable Speaker, this is not happening because the cases come in with their tests already in the system. Those who come without tests, Right Honorable Speaker, are tested, and when they are positive, they are not allowed into the country.
Honorable Segona, let the minister finish, then you bring the question you want.
Right Honorable Speaker, the issue of having a red list of countries and blocking countries to come in, I don't think it is a scientific decision. It is rather a knee-jerk reaction. Because if you followed the dates I gave you, when samples were taken and reports were given, there was a large period of days. Omicron can be anywhere right now. And I already mentioned that it is within 23 countries. So starting to block countries without having scientific information is not the wise thing to do. We need more information on Omicron. And if you look carefully, most of the countries that are being blocked from travel are African countries. In Uganda, we don't only have people coming in through the airport, they also come through the land border points of entry. Are we going to block everywhere? I think we need to take decisions based on risk. And in addition to that, Right Honorable Speaker, like you mentioned, our airport is small. If indeed it is true that Omicron is more transmissible, which we don't know, just one case waiting with the rest of the people at the airport is more risky than allowing them to go home. The gene expert machines that are being asked for have been ordered and they will be delivered in January. Procurement takes a bit of time, so we are waiting for that. Are we ready if indeed Omicron is very transmissible and highly virulent? Right Honorable Speaker, in my last statement here, I mentioned some of the things that are being done, including increasing bed capacity, the ICUs, the oxygen, and so on. Our oxygen plants arriving anytime now. They will be installed, and many other things are ongoing, including training people to handle the ICUs. Therefore, Right Honorable Speaker, apart from the fact that the health workers are tired, the country is generally ready from what you have seen that we have been handling. Right Honorable Speaker, our uniformed personnel are all vaccinated. And not only do we vaccinate them for COVID, but wherever they are going, we cover them with the polio vaccine and the yellow fever vaccine. The National Medical Stores endeavors to put information on the phones of all members, not only on delivery of vaccines, but also delivery of essential medicines. So I request honorable colleagues to follow that. The issue of coordination internationally and continentally is an issue that the World Health Organization is attempting to do. But many countries want to run their own responses, and it is not easy to bring everyone on board. Right Honorable Speaker, the strike of the health workers was called off, so I will not talk so much about it. They are back to work, and in any case, it was only within Kampala, not everywhere. Right Honorable Speaker, the issue of vaccinating the different priority groups, the vaccination of health workers is at 97%, and they continue to get vaccinated. The security personnel and teachers are at about 85%. The challenges we have had majorly are with vaccination of the elderly. But now with the accelerated mass vaccination and going closer, we are beginning to identify the elderly and vaccinate them. Right Honorable Speaker, I appreciate the decision that you said that it is possible to mobilize members to go back and mobilize the population for vaccination. This is extremely welcome. The challenge we have is that health workers need facilitation for them to vaccinate. And the issue of facilitation is hampering our quick movements because these resources are being given majorly by partners, and we have to wait for them, then we move. Right Honorable Speaker, the other issue that needed response are immunization of refugees. Again, let me state here that vaccines are in the facilities where refugee communities are, and we are working with UNHCR to ensure that they get vaccinated, and the issue of Yumbe Hospital is being handled by the Minister for Finance. The issue for VHTs and funds has been raised on this floor several times, and I have brought it to the attention of the Ministry of Local Government through which these funds go. Lastly, Right Honorable Speaker, is the issue of vaccination of children with the Pfizer vaccine, especially children with comorbidities. Yes, this has been discussed and cleared with the World Health Organization, although other countries are vaccinating even other children with the Pfizer vaccine. Lastly, Right Honorable Speaker, next week, I will be laying on table the Public Health Act that will cater for a number of issues you raised, including mandatory vaccination and also people who don't put on masks and don't follow what we can do to handle them. I thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Honorable Segona.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, and I want to thank the Minister. At least one of the issues has been answered. All along, we've been asking for a law which makes it compulsory for people to get vaccinated and they do not cause risk to others. So thank you, Honorable Minister. The second thing, Right Honorable Speaker, that the Minister does not address, whereas she talked about this doctors' strike being called off, but there are no efforts to mobilize the entire medical profession in the country in cases of a pandemic like this, because I take it that we are at war. We should be mobilizing all our forces. Now, you have so far failed to provide for the few health workers that are working in government facilities in terms of salary, in terms of PPEs, as well as compensation. Because I think one of the core issues the medical staff have been raising is that their colleagues who have died or been who suffered in the line of duty have not been compensated. So how do you expect to mobilize the whole country, including medical professionals in the private world, to join this war when you can't provide for those few in government employment?
So you want to start a debate afresh?
Right,
I'm only getting one clarification from King Kizi. I see you dying.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the Minister of Health for the efforts has made to elaborate on the situation on COVID. And Madam Speaker, I'm concerned on the issue of her response on increment of beds and oxygen in the hospitals. I happen to be representing the people of Chinchizi West in Uganda, Kanungu district. And Madam Speaker, 2 weeks ago, the whole district leadership went to the Minister of Health, and we were led by our Honorable Minister of ICT. And the complaint was that the only hospital we have has only 3 oxygen cylinders, and Chiere Center 4 has only 2 oxygen cylinders. And that's where the district ITU unit is. I wanted clarification from the minister. Are you talking of Kampala or your district, or you are talking about even Uganda, including Kanungu? Thank you.
Thank you. Let me first get a clarification from the minister who led the people. Honorable Minister, first give us that clarification, because the other one is on a hearsay.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, and the Honorable Kaberuka. He has actually presented the views of the MPs from Kanungu. It is true that it's the question whether the oxygen and the PEPs being procured will be distributed not only in the Kampala areas, but to all districts, including Kanungu. So
Okay.
Honorable Kaberuka is right. We engaged with the Ministry
Okay.
of Health, and the same questions remain relevant. So we expect the Minister to answer whether what the Ministry is procuring will reach Kanungu and the other districts. Yes.
Madam Speaker, the
Why are you
Honorable
putting my
Chris
order?
Variomuns is a minister and a cabinet minister. He sits in the cabinet.
is creating an impression that cabinet is doing nothing, that even ministers must go lobbying from one department to another. Is it in order to portray this government and cabinet as an unserious cabinet?
You know why I asked the Honorable Minister to clarify? Because he was a former Minister of Health. And the question would be, what did he do when he was in health?
Absolutely.
Because if you bought beds and had everything, they can't expire in one day. Dr. Cheng.
In defense. Thank you very much. Right, Honorable Speaker. When I was the Minister of State for Health, there was no COVID in the country. But secondly, I am the elected member of Parliament for Chinchiz East. And there is no harm in a minister engaging with a colleague minister and members of the ministry to discuss details. No, in the ministry, because he's questioning why I went to engage with the minister and Minister of Health when I'm a minister, because you cannot discuss the nitty-gritty of Kanungu in the cabinet. So as a member of Parliament who is responsible, it is okay for me to go to the Minister of Health, discuss with the Honorable Jen Cheng the details of my constituency.
Let's hear from Dr. Cheng. Though you needed to sort out your issues out of Parliament, not bring it on the floor as cabinet ministers. Dr. Cheng.
Right, Honorable Speaker. To begin with the last issue of oxygen, we have procured over 10,000 cylinders of oxygen. So far, 5,000 have arrived in the country, and they are receiving the identification marks, and they will be distributed countrywide up to the level of Health Center 4. So all facilities will get oxygen. The regional referrals will get oxygen plants, and the lower facilities can fill up their oxygen plants from the regional referrals.
Next item.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I thank you.
Next item.
Item number 3.1, statement by Minister on the occasion of commemorating the 16 days of activism campaign against gender-based violence.
Members, we are getting a statement from the Minister. We've been debating the gender-based violence, the girl child, all of that. So we are only getting the statement, and then we are more interested in hearing about the Kasese thing.
Right Honorable Prime Minister.
Honorable Minister, I'm not the Prime Minister.
Uploaded on the 23rd on our iPads. So you can refer back. And its background is the 16 days of activism campaign against gender-based violence. Right Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable members of Parliament, Right Honorable Speaker, Honorable members of Parliament, in 1991, the inaugural 16 days of activism campaign against gender-based violence took place as an event organized by the Women's Global Leadership Institute, a program at Rutgers University in New Jersey, New York, USA, which trains women in leadership based on global good and practice. Since then, the campaign has grown into a global campaign marked with a wide range of activities organized by various stakeholders. This year, 2021, therefore, marks 30 years anniversary of the 16 days activism campaign against gender-based violence. Several other initiatives came in place to reinforce the 16 days of activism campaign against gender-based violence. These include the Unite campaign to end violence against women by 2030, which was launched by the UN Secretary General in 2008. The Unite campaign calls for global action to increase awareness, galvanize advocacy efforts, and share knowledge and innovative measures to address gender-based violence. It is in this same year, 2008, when the government of Uganda, under the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development, joined the international community to mark the campaign annually as an advocacy and mobilization strategy for raising public awareness on gender-based violence and committing actions to ensure that medical, legal, psychosocial services are available to the survivors. Both the Unite and the 16 days of activism campaign provide an opportunity to discuss and strategize on solutions of good practice for end of GBV. These campaigns also contribute to the efforts to implement the Beijing Platform for Action and the national policy on planning frameworks on gender equality and the empowerment of women. The government of Uganda has adopted Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development Goals, which include SDG 5 on gender equality. Uganda Vision 2040 and the Third National Development Plan prescribe gender equality and women empowerment as fundamental to the national development. It prioritizes addressing
there's a
GBV.
procedure matter.
Procedure, right, Honorable Speaker, I beg your indulgence. It's not normally my behavior to ask for honorable colleagues to introduce themselves. The honorable minister here is extremely rare in this parliament. Wouldn't it be procedurally right for her to first introduce herself so that we know who she is, her name, which ministry, the ministry is there. No, I know. I have eyes. So right Honorable Speaker, is this procedure right for her to first make, since it could be a maiden speech, for us to first introduce herself properly, and we know her properly.
That is one form of gender violence. Honorable is harassing Honorable Peace Mutuzo. Is a state minister for gender, maybe for the new people. By the way, in one way or the other, we must appreciate what Honorable is saying because of the masks. You may not be able to know the person. And it is just good for the answer, but thank you for the concern. Honorable Peace, I want to refer you to page 4. Progress made in addressing the gender-based violence in Uganda. Start from there.
Right Honorable Speaker, thank you so much for your sensitive ruling on harassment of women. Progress made in addressing gender-based violence in Uganda. Right Honorable Speaker, the government of Uganda has registered significant progress towards prevention and response to gender-based violence through the following interventions. One, ensuring a strong legal and policy framework with the national policy on the elimination of gender-based violence in Uganda, developed 2016, as well as enacted several laws, including the Domestic Violence Act 2010, the Prevention of Trafficking in of Persons Act 2009, the Penal Code Act Cap 120, and the Prohibition of Female Genital Mutilation and the Employment and Sexual Harassment Legislation 2012. Two, building capacity on government agencies, including local governments, to design and mainstream interventions for prevention and response to gender-based violence in the ministerial plan and programs. Three, the National Gender-Based Violence and Violence Against Children multi-sectoral COVID-19 response plan, which runs from 2021 to 2024, has been developed as a framework to guide the national response and scale up the delivery of quality and comprehensive support services for survivors and victims of gender-based violence. Four, we have scaled up interventions for male engagement and involvement in gender-based violence prevention and response. The Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, the National Male Engagement Strategy, is being implemented, and simplified, popularized version have been developed to widen the use and adoption of measures to engage men and boys for the elimination of gender-based violence at all levels. Five, offered support to women's economic empowerment through the provision of credit to 18,914 women across the country, promoting access to appropriate technologies in enterprise development and skilling in enterprise management. Six, the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development has extended support for the abandonment of female genital mutilation in practicing communities, including the establishment of cross-border female genital mutilation task force. Seven, the Equal Opportunities Commission is revising the certificate of compliance framework to include a specific output and outcome indicators for gender-based violence and harmful practices during the assessments. Eight, the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, in collaboration with partners, have established 18 gender-based violence shelters in 18 local governments, which provide comprehensive services such as temporary shelters, legal aid, health, the integration and resettlement of gender-based violence survivors. Nine, the ministry has established strong coordination mechanisms at national and local levels, namely the Gender-Based Violence High Policy Dialogue, the Medical and Legal GBV Working Groups, Violence Against Women and Violence Against Children COVID-19 Response Subcommittees at the local governments, and their district gender-based violence coordination committees that meet quarterly to deliberate on the strategies to address GBV. Right, Honorable Speaker, scheduled activities for 16 days of activism campaign against gender-based violence are: one, we have held an interministerial committee, a high-level interministerial committee or meeting across border dialogue to address gender-based violence, specifically FGM. And this was held on the 24th to 25th of November at Speak Resort Mnyonyo in Kampala to lay strategies to end cross-border female genital mutilation. The national launch was held at Amaji Primary School, Kamdin, sub-county in Oyam district on Friday, 26th of November, 2021. And the event was marked under the COVID-19 standard operating procedures. Hence, the number of persons at the launch event was limited. The National Dialogue for Religious, Cultural, and Traditional Leaders on Ending Gender-Based Violence will take place on the 10th of December, 2021 in Kampala. We shall continue to share knowledge and showcase publications and reports, and that activity is ongoing and it started on the launch day. Media campaigns and television, radios, and social media campaigns are ongoing. Right, Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, I wish to acknowledge and appreciate honorable members of Parliament for the efforts to the campaign goal of ending gender-based violence through their works in ensuring gender-responsive legislation, reviewing budgets of MDAs to ensure responsiveness to gender and equality issues, including planning, budgeting, and interventions to address gender-based violence. I also wish to encourage members of Parliament to initiate, participate in the various events for the campaign as a way of marking and making a contribution to the efforts to ensure realization of the goal of ending gender-based violence and zero tolerance to all forms of gender-based violence. We desire to eliminate it both at home, communities, and the entire country. Right, Honorable Speaker, I would really want and invite members of Parliament to participate and show solidarity with the survivors of gender-based violence in the country and throughout the world. Allow me to conclude with an appeal to honorable members of Parliament to work with all stakeholders to end gender-based violence in our society. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. Please. As I said yesterday, the gender-based violence is running from 25th November to 10th December, 10 days. And I'm also happy that government is integrating several agencies in this fight. And at the end of the day, we shall achieve one goal on the fight against women and children. We need to advocate for long-term strategies to prevent and eliminate this violence from women and girls. We also need to amplify the success stories demonstrating that violence against women and girls can be prevented. We don't have any success stories that this and this happened and that's what happened. Such and such perpetrators were prosecuted. We don't have such success stories. And then we need to promote the leadership of women and girls in their diversity and participation in policy making. That is the only way we can have this reduced. Members, we had this debated yesterday for over an hour. Can we go to the next item?
Item number 3.2, the status of capabilities.
The Prime Minister is around. Can she read her statement, then you come in?
Item number 5, Prime Minister's time.
It's already 4.
Right Honorable Speaker and honorable colleagues, allow me to respond to questions given to me. One is from Honorable Atima Jackson, Member of Parliament, Arua City, Central, Arua. The questions and the answers are on the answer. Are on our iPad. In his question, he said that in the Daily Monitor newspaper of 25th November 2021, it was reported that Entebbe International Airport was on the verge of being taken over by the China People's Republic. Can the Right Honorable Prime Minister clarify on the status of Entebbe International Airport? Right Honorable Speaker, my response is that the financing agreement in question was signed in 2015 between the government of Uganda and the Exim Bank of China as a commercial transaction for which the two parties negotiated and agreed upon the terms amicably and voluntarily. It is a 20-year maturity loan with 7 years grace period, carrying 2% fixed interest cost per annum. The terms negotiated are semi-concessional and favorable to government for infrastructure development. These terms were also in line with the government public debt management strategy of 2013. Under the agreement, I want to inform you, honorable colleagues, that the airport was not mortgaged or pledged as collateral as alleged. The Honorable Ekanya Geoffrey, Member of Parliament, Tororo, North Constituency, Tororo District. I want, Right Honorable Speaker, can I just go for responses because members have questions? Thank you so much. Yes,
Madam Speaker, I appreciate the proposal of the Right Honorable Prime Minister. And that is really what I've been desiring for the last 18 years of being an MP. That is only possible if we establish parliamentary TV and radio, because Madam Speaker ruled that we are the voice of the voiceless. The voters need to get the question clear. Is it proper that the Prime Minister now would like to change the mode and the practice? Is it procedure correct?
Honorable Minister, what the honorable member is saying that the members outside there don't know what the question is. It is only the few of us who know the question.
Thank you so much. Then let me read the question, Honorable Speaker. The Honorable Ekanya asked a question that what is the policy of facilitating financially the new administrative units and expanded members of the local council 3 and 4. My response, Right Honorable Speaker, is that facilitation of new administrative units and members of local councils is a mandate of government. Parliament approved a supplementary budget of 29.3 billion for operationalizing of the new town councils and sub-counties on 18th November 2021. Additionally, 8.51 591 billion was approved to cover the shortfalls in payment as ex gratia, honoraria, and councillors' allowance in the financial year, this financial year. The second question was, for the last 3 months, all LOC3 chairpersons of sub-counties have not received their salary. And it was like, why? My response is as stated above, that Parliament approved the supplementary budget. Payment of salaries of chairpersons of all these administrative units, the new ones, will be effected. Then Honorable Angura Frederick, Member of Parliament for Tororo South constituency. He gave a preamble that Minister of Local Government funds every COVID-19 village task force and the village health teams, that is VHTs. There is, however, brewing discontent and the amount paid differs from district to district. Could the Right Honorable Prime Minister explain for this House the basis for this discrepancy? Right Honorable Speaker, my response is Right Honorable Speaker, that districts were guided to pay 100,000 for each village task force and 300,000 for each village health team comprising of 2 members. However, there is information that we got that some members of the village health teams, that is VHTs, is not the same in some districts. This resulted in funds being shared where the members of VHTs were more than 2. The Honorable Arepe Moses, Member of Parliament, Chekwi County, Kadam, Nakapiripirit District. He gave a very long background, which I must read. This matter arises from the matters raised by the armed forces veterans and families of the deceased veterans in his constituency, Chekwi County, Kadam, Nakapit District, during the consultations, that is interactions with the constituents, concerning their benefits as promised by the ministry responsible for defense and veteran affairs. His issue is that in 2019, the Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs, through its arm, the Uganda People's Defense Forces, carried out a country-wide verification exercise on compensation of former servicemen and women. This involved collecting data on their biodata service and banker details to facilitate compensation payments. For the deceased ones, letters of administration and family details were as well gathered for the same purpose. During this exercise, the promise was that their compensation payment would be made before the end of 2020. However, this has not come to pass and no feedback is forthcoming, and they have been left in suspense and despair. Because of the costs involved in the gathering of the required information, letters of administration, national identity cards, travel, among others, many of the veterans and the deceased families borrowed money or disposed of their property and have been rendered more desperate as they keep waiting for the promised payment. Though this concern has so far been raised by those in my constituency, I strongly believe this is the case across the country. They therefore asking for the feedback to this promise, knowing that the year 2020 has long passed. What ought to be done, since they are entitled to this compensation under the UPDF Act of 2005? Payments should be made to this group of people as provided by the law. This is the question. Right Honorable Prime Minister, provide very comprehensive answers to those woes of people who have sacrificed their lives and families for the service of this country. My response, Right Honorable Speaker, is that in 2019, the Minister of Defense and Veteran Affairs carried out a country-wide validation exercise on compensation of former servicemen and women and survivors. The verification exercise resulted in quantification of the outstanding areas, all the unpaid pension and gratuities, which we have already started on paying. Continuous regular payment have been effected, and many beneficiaries have received their pension. For the case of Nakapiripirit, we have a number of the verified claimants who have been paid, and some cannot be paid because they lack vital information. In addition, the list of beneficiaries under different categories were documented and shared with the district leadership to enable the beneficiaries to access accurate information. Government is committed to ensure that all the outstanding veteran pensions are cleared. That Honorable Speaker, the other question came from Honorable Veronica, Member of Parliament for Komansindi District. He asked me the following question, but she gave a background. Recently, the government, through Ministry of Education and Sports and National Curriculum Development Center, introduced a new thematic-based lower secondary school curriculum that will be implemented when schools open in January. However, it's not clear if all stakeholders were involved in the formulation of the new curriculum. Further, the Parliament has to be brought to knowledge as whether government has a structure and financial readiness to implement this new curriculum. Besides, the National Curriculum Development Center recently planned to distribute materials to only 4,000 schools, leaving questions as to what would happen to the remaining over 8,000 schools. Our question is, does government have a sustainable plan to ensure that all schools are well equipped to be ready for the implementation of the new curriculum? But Honorable Speaker and honorable colleagues, my response is that government has identified two aspects to ensure effective implementation of the new curriculum. These are staffing and purchase of instructional materials. But Honorable Speaker, government has recruited and deployed 1,598 staff in the newly completed seed secondary schools under the Uganda Intergovernmental Physical Transfer Program. The recruitment of the remaining 1,409 posts has also commenced and will be completed in the financial year 2021-2022. That Honorable Speaker, government has identified Uganda shillings for 45.8 billion for the recruitment of 3,594 staff, that is teaching and non-teaching staff, over a period of 2 years. Government has procured instructional materials for the lower secondary curriculum, that is senior 1 and to senior 2. And they will be delivered by the end of January 2022. The procurement process for materials for senior 3 and senior 4 is ongoing. Question number 7 is that from the same member. Is there any corresponding compliance by tertiary institutions training teachers relevant to the new curriculum and the gradual retooling of teachers already in service as private schools? My response is that, Honorable Speaker, that the government has developed the new teacher education program to equip the teacher with relevant competences needed to deliver the new lower secondary curriculum. Additionally, funds have been provided for the financial year 2021-22 for retooling 20,000 teachers of senior 1 and 2 in the entire country to handle the lower secondary curriculum. Question number 8. That recently government, through the Ministry of Education and Sports and National Curriculum Development Center, introduced a new thematic-based lower secondary school curriculum, which will be implemented when schools open in January 22. That Honorable Speaker, I think she repeated this. Number 9. It is not clear if all stakeholders were involved in the formation of the new lower secondary curriculum. My response, Right Honorable Speaker, is government, through the National Curriculum Development Center, consulted widely during the formulation of the new lower secondary curriculum. The other question is number 10. Does government have the financial and structural readiness to implement this new curriculum? My response is the NRM government has provided funds which have enabled the National Curriculum Development Center to implement the curriculum since February 2020. Her last question is the National Curriculum Development Center. She has also repeated this one, because I answered it first. Then question 12, are there plans to have gradual tooling in service teachers in both government and private schools in preparation for teaching and learning of the new curriculum? My response is a training strategy was developed for retooling of the in-service teachers on the new curriculum. And this will continue in the subsequent years. To date, a total of 30,000 teachers out of the projected 50,000 teachers in both government and private schools have been retooled. The Honorable Kabanda David, Member of Parliament, Kasambia, Mubende District. That government recently completed a multi-million water project in Kagando sub-county, Kasambia County in Mubende District. It's now 3 months since this project was completed, but has not yet kicked off because of lack of electricity in the areas which would enable the water to be pumped in order to supply the area. The question to me was, when is the government going to install a transformer in this area to enable pumping of water to the surrounding areas? Honorable Speaker and honorable colleagues, my response is that the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development in consultation with the Minister of Water and Environment, will undertake a field visit to assess the requirement for the installation of the distribution of the transformer to Kagando water pumping station, after which the project shall be packaged for funding and implementation. Right, Honorable Speaker, thank you so much for giving me this time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vice President. Yes, your court.
Thank you, the Right Honorable Speaker, and thank you, the Prime Minister, for the responses that you gave to the country. Madam Prime Minister, the first question that you tackle about the Entebbe International Airport, and it is true what you stated is clear that China is not taking over the international airport. But the message which is moving, which maybe you need to clarify to help us, is about the requests that some civil aviation authority was seeking so that some clauses in the concessions can be changed, especially if they want their budget to be approved. They need to go to Chinese lender so that those budget and the strategic plan can be approved. Number two, that if there's any disputes arising out of that loan, the arbitrations has to be done by China International Economic and Trade Commission, arbitral commissions. These are information which is moving. And most of these informations, they are comparing it with the concession which the government enter with the Omeme, that Ugandans are fighting now the effects of leaders who don't scrutinize loans clauses very, very clearly. Then at the end, they leave the burden to the citizens. Maybe you need to clarify this so that it help us to be on a better pace. Thank you.
Honorable Okot, you say the message is moving. Where is it moving from? You mean the messages have gotten legs these days? Where is the message moving from?
Well, what I mean is we are in the country and we interact with citizens of this country. And wherever we
No, what I want you, Honorable Court, what I want you to do is to come with a document, lay on table, and say, this is the evidence I have that the concession is not in line with the information you have. Come with a documentary evidence to lay on table and say, this is the information which is contrary to what the Prime Minister is giving. I think that would be a smarter way.
Well, when you live in an area where people interact and you are part and parcel of that citizens, your ears will definitely have to hear issues which
we
are
about
running.
to go to a Mara joint.
However,
we are about to go to a Mara joint. And then when you hear whatever the other person says, then you come to the floor and say, this is what I have heard moving. Yes?
Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker. I appreciate where my friend, the Honorable John
He's
Okot.
not a land friend.
Actually, he's not, I agree. My friend, Honorable John Okot, John Amos Okot is coming from. First, our rules do not allow us to rely on social media and other forms of hearsay or speculation. But look, here we are, and we are not simply discussing a loan agreement, we are discussing the life of the country. The government has kept mum on matters of these concession agreements. Ugandans who consider their lives mortgaged want to know what exactly is in these agreements, because you're contracting on their behalf. I happen to chair a committee that has been looking at a number of agreements here, and they leave a lot to be desired. Right, Honorable Speaker, you and I sat in a committee of this house called COSASE. And you know how we struggled to get access to some of these agreements in order to be able to help government when they are writing these agreements, to make recommendations at least. But they keep hiding under something called, is it secrecy or confidentiality clause? Now, you keep or you allow a clause of confidentiality against the principal owners of the agreement. When you walk around, I don't like this racial profiling. Every project is being handled by a particular company from China. But Ugandans also have a fear because of what they have had elsewhere. May we have the agreement submitted to Parliament to remove this speculation. It is not enough to simply say the agreement is there, it has a maturity period of 7 years with a grace period of 2 years carrying 2% fixed interest. What happens when we fail to pay? Tell us how much you have paid of the amount borrowed, how much is remaining, and what happens when you fail to pay, because it's a possibility. The reason you're borrowing is because you're broke. You don't have money. So Ugandans must plan with you. This parliament represents the people of Uganda. They want to see these agreements. I thank you.
Maybe what we need to find out is on how much is paid, how much is outstanding, and whether there is any default to the effect. But I can also comfortably tell you that the agreements are in our library, but restricted to maybe the chairs like you. You only go and read it from there for the same reason that you've talked about confidentiality. It is something that our countries agreed upon, but if you want to look at the agreement, it's in the library. Yes.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I'm the acting LOP today, so I'm going to have a bit of a response. Foremost, on question number 1, Right, Honorable Speaker, the time span we are talking about is 20 years. So we are legislating on not only for ourselves, but maybe for our children. So majority of us who are principal actors now, possibly we will not be there. That's the very reason why we ought to work transparently. I watched on the TV a Minister of Finance. I don't know, his name is called Honorable Matia Kasaija. His name is Mr. Honorable Matia Kasaija. I didn't know he was around. Responding, and it was pathetic. He was saying, these agreements have errors, these agreements have omissions, they were not done rightly, but nevertheless, they're okay. Right, Honorable Speaker.
That was the Minister of Finance.
Minister of Finance.
On TV.
Of Uganda. Responding, it was before COSASE, and I was on TV. I imagine a simple Ugandan on his name. It was
on TV.
He was responding. He was before COSASE.
It was before COSASE, okay.
Yes, and responding, and I was watching on TV.
I would be more bothered if he was addressing a press conference or on TV. But if it was in COSASE, that is okay.
He was on COSASE,
A procedure matter.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. This same matter the other day, you directed that COSASE handles it extensively. Yesterday, the Attorney General appeared before COSASE. The Minister of Finance also appeared before COSASE. And you said a report should be made and brought here for extensive discussion by the House on the matter. I was thinking that procedurally, are we moving right now to discuss the matter which is still being investigated by COSASE? Wouldn't it be right to wait? COSASE finishes, then they bring a
The member is
comprehensive report.
responding to what the minister is, the Prime
The way
Minister
they are
said.
bringing it, you know.
Right Honorable Speaker, is that the assurance we need to give our children and our children's children who are not born is that we act at all times in good faith. Therefore, we urge government, while signing this agreement, we have an Attorney General well learned.
You see, I don't want you to rely on what Matthias said. I want you to go to the library and first look at the agreement. Then we come back for a debate on that agreement.
Right Honorable Speaker, I accept, but then there's also a problem with your ruling, Right Honorable Speaker. If you say only chairpersons, I'm here elected by people of Butambala in my own individual right. I legislate on behalf of the people of Butambala. A chairman of a committee cannot internalize on my behalf. I think the ruling should, my simple appeal to you, Right Honorable Chair, that any member of Parliament that wishes to go and see this agreement, an arrangement should be made before this Parliament where they can confidentiality. I mean, if I'm
Members, please go to the library. The agreement is in the library.
Thank you.
The only thing we cannot allow you is to photocopy the agreement. You'll read the agreement before the person in the library. You must have some kind of confidentiality, even if it is a home. I just wanted to ask you, Haj, would you come and sit here and chair the house if I was not here? You can't. There are some things that are limited to some personalities. That was a joke, Haji.
Right Honorable Speaker, on question number 2.
Yes.
Right Honorable question on question number 2. I expected the Prime Minister, this is concerns welfare of councils, to have a response that is more proactive. A mere passing of a supplementary does not normally translate into action on the ground. Now that we passed a supplementary, I would have expected the Prime Minister to come here and say, by this date, these councils, monies will be available.
That will be answered by Honorable Matia Kasaija, the in charge money. We pass a supplementary here. When does the money reach to the
district councils?
To the district councils. It's a process, by the way.
Yeah. Yes.
You have to give a warrant. You have to give.
So, right, Honorable. So that's why. Secondly, payment cannot be on groupage. You group a lot of people and pay them lump sum. Payment is personal to holder. These village health teams cannot be grouped and say, because money, I work as a village team, you recruit me personal. On payment, you say we paid you as a group, share. It's extremely unfair. We expect that every person you recruit as a village team must know, but at the end of the month, this is what I work for. But to say, and villages differ in sizes. A village in Honorable Segona's constituency or a zone has as many people as in my own whole parish. Therefore, when you have 2 or 3 village health officers, pay them what is due to them. But you can't say now, because it's a village, I'm going to pay you this amount of money. We believe, Right Honorable Prime Minister, that's extremely unfair, and that causes discretion, because what district officials do there is now to begin to also take part of the money. I have issues in my constituency of that nature. It says, now we are paying you 30, 30, 30. but it should be well streamlined so that each village health official, this is what he receives. Right, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Chivumbi, if I understood that well from the lead of government business, the lead of government business said that each village is supposed to have 2 VHTs. But there are circumstances where the VHTs are more than what? More than 2. Whereas their budget is each VHT should get 300,000. So in a circumstance that the VHTs are more than 2, that's when the discrepancy comes in, because all of them have to be paid. So maybe the other thing that we may need to do is to budget as per the VHTs, not on assumption.
Honorable Speaker, I think you are fair, you are absolutely right, that we are here advocating that going forward, it is personal to holder. Right, Honorable Speaker, I have also looked at, now the Prime Minister responds to 21911 and responds to the same question 3 times. And comes here and says the question was repeated and the response was repeated. It shows you about the level of preparation. If the question is repeated, must your answer also be repeated? That means the minister picks this file, doesn't read it through, and comes in here. So the young girls listening out there and admire you, demand a better job to be done. Right, Honorable Speaker, also the response of Mr. Kawanda. The answer is that a field visit will be paid, will be made. Right, Honorable Speaker, when government implements a program, you are making a dam, you are sure you will need electricity. You don't provide it. Then you say we shall pay visit. Sure? Really? And the Prime Minister carries a statement to Parliament.
You see, Haj, the Prime Minister's work is to monitor on government programs, monitor on the other sectors. So when she says that she wants to do a field visit, she wants to go and see the correct thing that has been done, whether correct or incorrect.
Right, Honorable Prime Speaker, I agree. But I expect the Prime Minister, having received that question, should have called the responsible agency. She's the coordinator of government, and then come here with a concrete answer. If for everything she will pay visit, then she will visit the whole of this country. So, right. So
that is going to be done.
So
we'll have that done. Can we go to the next thing, next item? That will be done. Okot sit. Okot, you sit.
Thank you.
Okot, sit.
Item number 3.2, statement by Minister on the status of capabilities of the fire response services in Uganda.
The what? We said Kasese? Kasese?
Statement by Minister on the status of prosecution of royal guards of the Obusinga Ruru who were arrested in 2016.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I have a statement on the status report on the Kasese case, CRB 881 of 2017. That is Uganda versus Charles Wesley Mumbere and 220 others. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, in December 2016, 168 accused persons were charged in the captioned case before the High Court of Uganda sitting at Jinja. The case was moved to Jinja due to the tense security situation in the Rwenzori sub-region at the time. Since then, and as the investigations continued, more arrests were made, and the total number of those charged increased to 221. These were all committed to the High Court in 2017. Of the 221 accused persons, 11 were released on bail in 2017, and another 143 were released on bail in January 2021. These returned to their respective homes in the Rwenzori sub-region. They are reporting to the Registrar of the High Court and the Chief Magistrates within the jurisdiction, that is Fort Portal High Court. However, all of them will be expected to report to Jinja High Court for the pretrial hearing. The rest of the accused persons were denied bail for various reasons and are still on remand. The pretrial hearing of this case was commenced in December 2020, but has been constantly interrupted by COVID-19 related restrictions. A number of pretrial conferences have been held to streamline procedures and to deal with the preliminary issues before the actual pretrial hearing commences. The last pretrial status conference was held on the 8th of June 2021 at the High Court of Jinja. Honorable Speaker and colleagues, the prosecution has substantially disclosed the evidence and materials it intends to present at trial in the court to the defense, all as required by Rule 2 of the Judicature High Court International Crimes Division Rules of 2016. The prosecution has also made an application for the protection of 70 witnesses in form of delayed disclosure, summary and redacted disclosure, use of pseudonyms, among others. For all the two cases indicted, and the court is yet to make a ruling. The pretrial hearing was adjourned following the imposition of the COVID-19 related restrictions, and the case has not yet been fixed for hearing. Otherwise, the prosecution is prepared and set to commence the hearing of the case once the case is cause listed. Finally, it's also worth mentioning that the judge who was handling this case, Her Lordship Justice Eva Luswata, has since been appointed to the Court of Appeal, and both the prosecution and defense are yet to be advised on the judge who is going to handle this matter. I beg to submit.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to thank the Deputy Attorney General for making an attempt to respond to the concerns of Parliament, at least in this matter. I said at least in this matter, because the Attorney General and this Parliament know that there are other pending matters where we're waiting for a response. And they are constitutional in nature, including the deployment in Congo. With respect to this particular case, Right Honorable Speaker, it is so disturbing that a prosecution rooted in the massacre that happened at the palace of Msinga wa Rwenzururu in the year 2016 has not taken off to date. I am addressing this to the Attorney General, because in Uganda, we do not have a Minister for Justice. And the Minister for Justice would have addressed the administrative challenges that are related to delayed trials. The Attorney General in particular is party to the cases against and commenced on behalf of Uganda. His lenses therefore are skewed because he's party. Number two, it is a constitutional requirement in Uganda under Article 28 for people to exercise the right of a speedy trial. It is also a requirement that the government must afford facilities for a person who is facing trial. Let's begin with these people whose jobs were interrupted by the state when the government forces attacked the palace. And you subject them to a trial from Kasese to Jinja. But those are the lucky ones who are out on bail. Don't forget that they are jobless. But there are those that are continuing to languish for the last 5 years in prison. Some of whom, if not all, will eventually be pronounced innocent. And I mean at the conclusion of the trial. Who is responsible for delayed trials in this country? It is the government of the Republic. As a lawyer, I know, and I've been Shadow Minister for Justice for 10 years. I have sat in Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee for the last 10 years, and this is my 11th year. The major cause for backlog in cases of this nature is lack of funds for sessions. But even in a case as prominent as this, involving a cultural leader in this country, the government cannot take extra steps to provide the funding necessary. Because this is a case which could be handled even in Fort Portal within 1 month and concluded. We know who is guilty and who is not. And we're talking about justice. How about the murderers that massacred people at the palace, telling us that these people were committing an act of insurrection? And some have since been promoted to senior positions. The leader and the chief architect is now the deputy CDF. And to cause mayhem, he deputizes a relative of the victims. They are now in parliament with us. They have not been cleared. We have not seen an investigation against those people who murdered. We have not seen those weapons which were meant to be used for insurrection. They were not recovered. They showed us pangas, spears, and other cultural regalia. Right, Honorable Speaker. The delay itself is unconstitutional. And nobody can call government to order other than this parliament. What happens to the children of these men that are not going to school now? Where is the compensation program for these people? Instead, we see government going to make truce and negotiations with some people in Kasese without addressing the plight of these people. I have paid specific attention to the dates provided by the Deputy Attorney General. Some were released on bail in the year 2017. Others were released on bail in the year 2021. I do not want to question the wisdom of the judiciary in granting or denying bail. But there is a corresponding duty on the part of the judiciary and the executive which appropriates money to provide money for these people to be tried. I think we must come out very strong on government and demand that these people be tried and the matter is concluded. Because it has to do with the Constitution, it has to do with fairness, it has to do with justice. I have heard voices of the most ridiculous commentaries with an intention to abolish bail in respect of certain offenses. It is offending because some of the people proclaiming such messages have been beneficiaries of bail. I don't want to mention them. They are in this parliament. Finally, Right Honorable Speaker, what happened to the spirit of talking as citizens? What is so difficult about government sitting down with the leadership of the cultural institution to finally resolve this matter? You don't even need mediation. You mediate the head of state. I saw the president extending, I think, a helping hand to the late Queen Mother in this institution. Has the government taken an effort to discuss with the cultural institution and resolve this matter? After all, these people never killed. Instead, they were killed, they were aggressed. And who is taking up the matter of the people who murdered at the palace? The Ministry of Justice does not have a minister. So there is nobody to provide justice. You're talking about the poor people you have impoverished by denying them job that they cannot even seek justice. One day, we will regret the bomb that we are setting up when it explodes on all of us. Injustice, Martin Luther King Jr. said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Honorable Minister, I want to trust you. My young brother, the Attorney General, and I went to school together. And as you would know, I was ahead of him. I am therefore qualified to counsel him on that. You have a duty to educate those people that gave you the job, which they do not know. You know it, and you're judged by different lenses, and the weighing scale is higher on your part. I thank you, Speaker.
Honorable members, the issue that rose that day was on the matter of the health of these people who are inside, and then we wanted a speedy trial of the said people. That is what is on ground. We are not saying they're innocent. We're also not saying they are guilty. But what we want is for government to take note of their health and then have a speedy trial on the people who are inside. Honorable Atkins. I don't want us to debate this thing in depth because one of you will raise up and talk about sub judice because the issue is in court. But for us, what we want government is to do is on the issue of the health of these people and then a speedy trial. If Justice Eva left, is that the only judge we have? Doesn't that court have a judge now? Can we make a follow-up on that?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And I really want to thank my esteemed brother, Honorable Segona, and my brother, the Attorney General. Madam Speaker, I think to begin with, I really want to thank you for according space and attention to this very important matter. It is true that those that are incarcerated and that are being incarcerated now for 5 years. Madam Speaker, those that are still incarcerated seem tragically to be following the path of 9 members of our community that have painfully lost their lives in a prison. And since we're trying to look at how we can step in or encourage government to ensure that no further addition to the 9 citizens that have perished in prison. And I think it's very important, Madam Speaker, that without even mentioning or reading names to lay on the floor of Parliament, the names and residences or places of our board of those 9 citizens that have lost their lives in a prison. I beg to lay, Madam Speaker.
Where did you get the document from?
The document
Source?
from the prison, and also a representative.
Is it authenticated?
By
prisons.
Death certificate?
Are the death certificates attached?
If that is your wish, Madam Speaker, I will make that available.
Please bring when it is complete.
I will. Thank you very much. But Madam Speaker, this borders on nothing but the humanization.
Honorable Atkins, I want us to discuss this in a way of helping the people. We want to ask Attorney General, what are you doing to ensure that these people who are sick in prison do not die like those ones? That's the first thing. 2, what are you doing to ensure that we have a speedy trial of these people? 3, let's not forget what Honorable Segona is saying. What has gone wrong with the talking? Can't we talk? Can't we get a moment that we discuss these issues? We have kind of a reconciliation. That is what we want you, Attorney General, to capture. Because as a chair of the House, I don't want to go so deep into this debate. We want those responses.
Madam Speaker, I appreciate your wisdom, and I'm alive to the fact that this matter could be in some court or going through a court system. So my submission will be specific on ankles that could not contradict or make some legal contradiction. Madam Speaker, it's an old fact, and I think those that hearing this could be shaken, because it's public knowledge now that we have lost 9 citizens in a prison. And the reason why we lose them is that they need medical attention and they don't find medical attention on time. I really want to appreciate you, Madam Speaker. But you see, this matter is anchored on life and death. There are people that are lined up in prison that need urgent medical attention. I will ask and implore the Attorney General that all that we need as a community and as representatives of the affected community. It's nothing less than a specific timeline. I think our patience has been exhausted and depleted, and we don't want to entertain any element of dehumanization because we've been dehumanized enough. We're getting to a point to say one life matters. And as a community, we're now ready to have any one addition to the 9 lives. How shall on planet Earth ever account for the lives of the 9 citizens that were picked up from their homes, taken to prison, only to die there without ever seeing the light of justice? So, Madam Speaker, I don't know who among us right here in this house would be taking this as a simple, ordinary matter if the person in prison, on a prison bed, dying on a prison bed was your mother, was your father, your son or your daughter, your sister or your brother. And I'm just wondering whether the indifference that we have in this house is as a result of us not being like them. So in other words, it is us versus them. And I think it's very important in any culture, and specifically the African culture, that we desist from a situation where we dehumanize people that don't look like us. Madam Speaker, specifically, and I sit down, we're asking for nothing less than government immediately going to the prisons. Go pick up our people or relatives that you dumped and you have incarcerated, kept in prison at your pleasure. Go get them, take them to the hospitals. Jails are not hospitals, please. We are human beings. And we don't want to sit in this house, continue to carry titles of honorable members while we are looking on as our fellow citizens, fellow people, fellow human beings, fellow tribesmen perish in the prisons. And you want to keep them in a prison at your pleasure. We are not ready as a community and as a people representing our people to tolerate that even for a moment. And Madam Speaker, I want to put notice to this country or to the world that this matter will consistently be brought to the attention of our country, Madam Speaker, because just like the Attorney General said, my honorable brother said, an attack, I come from that community. An attack on one of us is an attack on all of us. Injustice anywhere makes justice, becomes a threat to justice everywhere. And Madam Speaker, just like I said on Tuesday, for evil to thrive anywhere, you need one raw material to facilitate it. I'll give you information, my brother will give you information. Let me just warn you. Good women like you, Madam Speaker, and good men like these honorable ministers and honorable colleagues to do nothing. I want to ask
members,
information to
honorable members, honorable Atkins.
Can I conclude then?
I have never known you as the chair of this house.
Madam Speaker, can I then conclude if I can give information to my?
Please do.
Okay. But my people will be asking me why I didn't give my brother communication. Just 1 minute, sir. They would ask me, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Atkins, members, I am referring this matter to the Committee of Human Rights and must report back to this house in 2 weeks. We want all these things resolved. We are tired of these things. The health of our people matters. As said before, we are representatives of these people, and because we are their representatives, so we must be seen to work. So this issue is going to the Committee of Human Rights and report back in 2 weeks' time before we break off. We want issues of the health of the people, speedy trial, what is happening to the people, that should be reported back to the House. And maybe I'll also give terms of reference to the committee on what they should do. Maimuko, I'm making a ruling. Please sit. So that is what is going to happen. Attorney General work together with the Committee of Human Rights. We cannot have these people incarcerated for all these years. Without a trial, let's have them tried. And let's have these people who are sick in prison be treated. They are human beings. Yes.
Right, Honorable Speaker. One, we are liaising with the judiciary to get a judge for this matter as soon as possible. Two, we are in touch, we got in touch with the prisons to see to it that for those whose health needs urgent attention, if it cannot be very well attended to while in the Jinja prison, they should be evacuated and relocated to a better facility. So indeed, we are making efforts to see that there is a speedy trial once we get a judge allocated to this. I beg to submit.
Thank you so much, Attorney General. We adjourn the House to 2 on Tuesday.